Rahim, honorable speakers, foreign dignitaries, members of legal fraternity, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. It is a privilege to be here again in remembrance of late Asma Jahangir and deliver the closing address of this conference. She was a friend and an inspiration for all democratic people of Pakistan. Asma Jahangir was a warrior for a democratic, progressive, inclusive, modern and pluralistic Pakistan. This conference in her memory has become a vital forum for having important and sometimes uncomfortable conversations on fundamental rights, democracy, rule of law and constitutionalism. These conversations of the rule of law, freedom of expression, women's rights are absolutely essential for us to have if we intend to be flourishing democratic state which will become inshallah. I have great admiration and respect for Asma Jahangir and her courage to speak truth to power. She was elected as the first woman president of Supreme Court Bar Association at a time when I was Prime Minister of Pakistan. I fondly recall my engagement with her in that role. एक वाकया मैं सुनाना चाहता हूँ जो सारा क्रक्स होगा जो आपकी गुफ्तगू हुई है। मैंने जो मोहतरमा बेनज़ीर भुट्टो शहीद और मियां मोहम्मद नवाज शरीफ साहब के माबैन चार्टर ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी पर जब साइन हुआ तो ये जिम्मेवारी मेरे ऊपर थी टू इम्प्लीमेंट इट और मैंने उस चार्टर ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी पे काम किया। 85% उस पर अमल दरामद किया और कुछ नकात रह गए जो ऑपोजिशन की नॉन कोऑपरेशन की वजह से ना हो सके, मगर उस पे एक जो सबसे बड़ा काम था, अब यहाँ लीगल फ्रेटर्निटी भी है, जुडिशरी के लोग भी हैं, स्टूडेंट्स भी हैं और लीडर्स भी हैं। मुझे आसमा जहांगीर ने आई मेरे पास तो मुझे बहुत कहने लगी कि प्राइम मिनिस्टर साहब आज आप बहुत खुश लग रहे हैं कि आप 58(2)B का खात्मा किया। 58(2)B कि जब से पाकिस्तान बना आपने देखा कि डिक्टेटर्स 58(2)B के तहत गवर्नमेंट को रुखसत करते थे, तो आज आपने इसको ख़त्म कर दिया, आप बहुत खुश हैं।
बंद ही कर दें।
और फिर आपने देखा वो 58(2)B का था जो हुआ
भाई चला दो।
Many of the values of that Asma Jahangir stood for is her fight for an inclusive democratic society. I became the first unanimously elected Prime Minister of Pakistan when the country was beginning to transition to democracy. It was time of great fear and apprehension with the systematic dismantling of democratic institutions by the previous regime, a global economic recession and a divided country. By the grace of Allah, the leadership of my party and the strength of my convictions, we steadied the ship. I've been asked to speak on the role of political leaders in safeguarding civil rights. In recent years, there have been acute challenges to constitutionalism and rule of law in Pakistan and in the region, a subject discussed at length at this conference. Rule of law, democratic principles, and respect for fundamental rights have been under relentless assault in many countries in South Asia. These have been deliberate attempts by dangerous populists to sow a discord, to cause conflict, to polarize society and institutions through politics of hate and violence. The only solution to a constitutional crisis is constitutional supremacy. The only solution to the crisis of holding fundamental rights is democracy. Political parties are the engine of train of democracy. Throughout our history, dictatorships have been afraid of political leaders, political parties, and the power of political parties and leaders to organize people, to give them a voice, to give them a direction, and have attempted to clamp down on them. The dictatorships of the past damaged our political culture and democracy and created a new class of non-ideological and opportunistic politicians who were not bound by party manifestos, disciplines, and ethos. Political parties provide a people an opportunity to hold politicians accountable both at the individual level by the constituency and at the collective level by the party. Shaheed Zulfikar Ali Bhutto created a party based on the values of democracy, equality, freedom of human rights. Shaheed Zulfikar Ali Bhutto and Shaheed Mohtarma Benazir Bhutto created a cadre of political workers who were trained in democratic politics and how to understand the rights and responsibilities of upholding the fundamental rights, particularly as the party was the party that gave the Constitution of 1973. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, Shaheed Mohtarma Benazir Bhutto, President Zardari, and myself and thousands of PPP workers paid a heavy price for this commitment to the people, to democracy and fundamental rights. They were executed, assassinated, flogged, and imprisoned. This journey of sacrifice and examples of Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, yes please, and Shaheed Mohtarma Benazir Bhutto has made the PPP worker what is it today. Courageous, critical, thinker, and fearlessly loyal. I wear it as a badge of honor, and that during my term as the longest serving Prime Minister of Pakistan, there were no political prisoners and no persecution of political opponents. I was the first Prime Minister to create a human rights ministry and provided with all the support necessary. I was also the first Prime Minister to create a Ministry of Interfaith Harmony and to recognize the historic speech of Quaid-e-Azam on August 11 that gave the vision of tolerant and egalitarian Pakistan. I declared August 11 as a minority day to remind ourselves the promise made by Quaid. This manifesto, the ideology and training is what distinguishes a political party working towards upholding democratic rights from the mob. One of the most serious challenges to democracy around the world at the moment is authoritarian populism. Leaders who lie to people, who incite violence, who seek to create division and polarization, who have no ideology and no agenda beyond that of self-interest for themselves or for the destruction of everyone else. From Modi in India to far-right parties in Europe to Pakistan, there is a relentless assault on the principles of constitutional supremacy, democratic accountability, and of tolerance, threatening to besiege and attack capitals, whether it is in Islamabad or Washington, D.C., by inciting violence and hatred is not the work of political leader or a party. It is bullying and not politics. They want the civility and democratic norms in politics to be replaced by hysteria and abuse. The despots wreaks havoc and not only our politics and our society, but also on our institutions, our economy, and our foreign policy. The lack of coherent foreign policy by the previous regime was driving us towards international isolation and extraordinary sacrifice in the war against violent extremism were going unacknowledged. Political parties provide nurseries and training for government. Those who seek to build cults instead of democratic political parties, once propelled and selected into power, only prove destructive. The people of Pakistan, through their experience of history, recognize demagogues and those who seek to impose fascism upon us. We were not granted democracy and freedom on a platter. We attained it with our blood, the blood of political leaders and thousands of committed political workers. I spent years in prisons for committing no crime other than standing by my principles of my party. Today, the Democrats have responsibility to protect our Constitution, our democracy against a torrent of abuse and falsehood. Democratic political parties need to be at the forefront of this. Political leaders and political parties are the glue that binds the political aspirations of the people from small villages to power corridors of Islamabad. And I think the link between government, parliament and workers, farmers, students, trade unions, lawyers and civil society. Our judiciary today also has a responsibility. The rule of law is soul of democratic system. The judiciary has a responsibility to inspire confidence that justice is done, that everyone will be treated fairly and fundamental rights will be upheld. Sadly, in the past, our judiciary has failed to inspire this confidence. However, we have a great hope that judiciary is now looking inwards to reform and start the journey towards equitable, constitutional and justice system where the courts decide based on the law. The challenges that we face are enormous. However, we'll live to overcome them in even greater. The answer has always lied in more democracy, more political participation, more ideological commitment. We have prevailed in the past and inshallah we will prevail again. The best tribute to Asma Jahangir is to follow in her footsteps and fight for the constitutional supremacy, equality and democracy. This is a debt that we owe to Shaheed Mohammad Benazir Bhutto and Asma and other democratic political leaders who spent their lives in this fight. Inshallah, we will succeed. Thank you very much. Pakistan Zindabad.